Can our Romania team come up? You guys can welcome them. There's a bunch of them. So while they're coming up, I'll just give you a brief introduction. There's 14 of us. We left 2 behind. I heard that was okay to leave about 10%. Oscar and Nicole, I think they're watching. They're in Austria right now, just living at large on vacation. They decided, They decided to stay in Austria for another 4 weeks, and they were in Romania for 5 weeks before us. So that's what you do when you're in college. You just hang out like that. And before we start, Jerry, I know you're in the room. That pink backpack would look great in CJ's amongst all of that Cowboys stuff. Anyway, I'll bring it to you. So we went to Romania. It took us like 7 years to get back or something. No, it took us 2.5 extra days. We were traveling for 74 hours to get home. That's a long time, especially with these guys. And that's not true. It was a lot of fun. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of pass the mic around kind of like Jimmy Fallon style, and they're going to tell stories about the camp that we were at. We'll show a video at some point, and I hope you guys are encouraged, not only that our young leaders went out and did what they were meant to do, but that God is faithful in every country and society in the world. And that when you go to a new place and you experience Jesus in a language you don't even understand, the view of Jesus just, again, transforms you. Even if you can't speak the same language, you're celebrating the same God, and it's just beautiful to see. So this is our team, and Oscar and Nicole are right here. And it was Morris, me, and the ladies, and Oscar, and we went for about 11 days. We led a kids camp. We had a lot of fun. There was a lot of tears, and I just hope you're encouraged with these stories. So I think we're starting with Grandpa Mo.
Good morning. Everybody's probably wondering, so why Romania? Well, it all started with Elizabeth and I both following the Lord's calling to, because God put it on our hearts to go to Eastern Europe, and particularly the Gypsy Roma people, and just Eastern Europe. And so 11 years ago, we answered the call to go, and we experienced the country, the people, the ministry, and that's why we go to Romania. We fell in love with the place. We fell in love with the ministry over there. There's a young couple, Claudia and Leandru, who have a ministry called Vești Romania, which is Good News Romania. And they minister to the gypsy kids. They minister to the orphans. They started out working with orphans. They decided, really, we should do something to prevent more orphans from happening or occurring, or how can we help impact people's lives who really need some help. So they've been working with some very, very destitute Gypsy Roma villages and working with after-school programs and encouraging the kids to go to school, like having backpacks, having school supplies, encouragement to get them to come to school and learn and to stay out of that cycle of brokenness. So we've come alongside with them. A year ago we did a summer camp, a day camp. This time these guys presented the whole summer camp for 60 to 70 kids who came from 3 different villages and the orphanages. It was a blast, and they've got a lot to tell you about it, but that's why we go to Romania. It's been on our heart. Elizabeth and I have been there 11 times, and many more to come, I'm sure, because it's our calling. So listen to what God says. He told us, go, so we went.
Good morning. I'm not going to say a whole lot. I've been up about 27 hours now, so I worked last night. What he said about going and helping these kids and watching over the years the changes that we've seen, some of the kids that we've stayed in touch with, some of them we've known for these 11 years and watched them grow up and watched them become incredible young men and young women, impacting the lives of other children. A lot of those kids come back to Vești in Romania and volunteer their time. One in particular that we claim as our daughter, and also her twin brother is our other son. Tundi and Bela are actually having a birthday today, so we were all wanting to wish them a very happy birthday. To tell you how far the ministry in this church reaches, I don't know how many of you look at Facebook Live when the church is on, but Tundi watches it every Sunday, and she is watching it right now. So it is a true happy birthday to Tundi. We love you.
Yeah, so we're going to quickly show you a video if you guys want to get ready. Instead of doing like a cheesy backing track to this, I felt very strongly about 10 minutes ago to play the song that we're going to play. It's written by a friend of mine who actually owns an orphanage, and the song talks about, these guys haven't actually heard it, all seen the video, so this will be fun for us anyway. The song just talks about how you can see lots of things on TV, you can see lots of things in magazines, but until you see the joy in someone's eye when you meet them, it's not real, you know? And you see all these commercials saying like, give to this, give to that, but when you meet the people, the whole perspective changes. And the song just talks about that and how sometimes you just got to hold on even when all hope is lost, that we can find hope in Jesus. So we're going to attempt this. We haven't actually practiced this. John, are you ready at the back?
I know there are millions just like me. I know how it looks on your TV. If you only knew the way my sister's eyes can smile. I wish you could walk with me today and hold my hand talking all the way. I show you my life, my love, my chance of slipping by. So hold on, don't lose me, though I'm just one face in a cast of thousands. Hold on, can't you see what is dying all around us? The water is rising and I'm here drowning. You gotta hold on, you gotta hold on to me. Will you remember me this way? Or will my picture slowly fade? Sure as the stars around are falling one by one. 'Cause I'm getting closer to the edge of yesterday's broken promises. Happily ever after never, never comes. So hold on, can't you see? Hope is dying all around us. The water is rising and I'm here drowning. Hold on, don't lose me, though I'm just one face in a cast of thousands. You gotta hold on loves me, though I'm just one face in a cast of thousands.
All right, can we give Riley a round of applause? Thank you, Riley. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to pass the mic down the line in a very orderly fashion, I think. And these guys are going to tell you stories. I need to break Danny's guitar. And yeah, I just hope that you're encouraged from them. So are we starting with this end?
Good morning. My name is Grace Klein. For those of you who don't know me, I'm going to be a junior in high school. And this trip was my first time out of the country, first missions trip. And oh my gosh, it completely changed my life for the greatest it could possibly be. I didn't know what to expect leaving this, going to this trip. I kind of just walked on the plane and I was like, okay, this is happening. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But as soon as I got there, I felt at home. I felt like I was supposed to be there, and I knew God put me there for an amazing reason. The first couple hours sitting at the camp, kids would come and talk to me. I didn't know the language, so I'd try to communicate. It didn't work. And then a couple hours later, I walked up to Sarah by this swing, and she was just acting crazy, big hand motions, and I felt like we could actually communicate. The language barrier was so difficult for me because I don't know a lot of Romanian, barely know it now. But the way that we could communicate was through just being crazy and through laughing and actually having fun. And I think that was an amazing thing that God showed me, is that you don't need words to communicate and to show his love.
Hi everybody, I'm Whitney, for those of you who don't know me, and this was also my first mission trip. While I was there was one morning where I woke up and I felt God's presence hanging over me, and I had goosebumps all day, and he was talking to me all day and was just telling me about the impact that I'd had on these kids' lives and about the relationships that I'd formed with these kids. And at first I didn't really know how to handle this because this was kind of a new experience for me. I'd never had God talk to me like this before. But then as I was walking around, processing what God was telling me, I realized that while I was walking around, I had a trail of kids following me around. And they were all on my hip, and they were asking me and talking to me and laughing. And then that was when it really hit my heart about how impactful all of the things that we were doing, how it had changed not only our lives, but the kids as well.
Hi, my name is Grace. That's also Grace. It's confusing. So I actually went to Romania last year as well with Morris and Elizabeth, and we did about the same thing, a little bit different, but I feel just kind of like a little Morris and Elizabeth. I know this is definitely my calling. Ever since I stepped a foot in Romania, I knew I never wanted to leave. I feel like Romania it's where I belong, and I want to be there for the rest of my life. And just teaching these kids and showing them that they can have, just a friend no matter what they have to go through. And just hearing about these kids' stories, some of them literally have to fight to survive. It's just heartbreaking, and my heart belongs with those kids. My heart belongs in Romania. And I feel like just the ministry that Claudia and Leandrew, which are the hosts there, what the ministry that they're doing is just incredible. And I definitely want to be a part of that. And God has really, really changed me by being able to go to Romania. And it's just an amazing place that I want to be able to go for forever.
All right. Hi, I'm Amanda.
So I'm going to start with just a little story of my time there with meals, actually. You know, meals bring people together. We all love food. um, so every day I would sit with my team, either at one table or another, with a different group of kids. And I thought it was really interesting the way I would fit in with the tables. At one table, they're quiet, didn't say too much. They might ask a few questions, except for one kid, which we never figured out why, but anytime he looked at me, he burst out laughing. I might just be funny looking. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun sitting at their table with just talking, but just having a quiet time with them. But then there's the other table, just the boys' table. And it was a completely different atmosphere. While sitting there, you would be laughing the whole time, normally laughing at someone, because we liked to pour salt in people's food when they got up to leave the table. And also, by the end of the week, I found myself eating more like them. At one point in time, I caught myself reaching for like my 7th piece of bread. And I don't know what happened. I'm usually not that hungry. But it was just a really great time sitting with all of them and laughing with each other. By the end of the week, I had students and campers come up to me just telling me that one of their favorite things about me was how much I smiled. And that touched my heart, and it just gave me confidence in the things that God has been doing. He showed me that just the little things that I never would have thought of, like a smile, goes so far in their lives. It showed them that they were loved, and them telling me that showed me that I was really making a difference. So, yeah.
Hello. I'm Jillian. Most of you don't know me. I'm kind of new. I guess it's my turn. All right. So, walking up to the plane, wasn't nervous at all. 3 days before, not nervous. You know, I'm packing. It's fine. Everything's going well. Like, the afternoon before the kids got there, that's when I got nervous. Whoo, my hands were shaking. It was bad. I masked it pretty well. I was playing soccer, so you can't focus on anything but the soccer ball then. And the reason I was nervous was I had this perception of orphans where it's like everyone's kind of downtrodden, and it's very hard for them, and every moment is just like filled with this great impenetrable sadness that I didn't know if I was going to be able to break through or relate to them in any way. And then there was the language barrier, and I was concerned with that. And I'm just like, every single time I'm about to do something, never nervous until the very last second. And then once I get into it, I get over that really quickly. And as soon as the bus pulled up, I was like immediately over that worry that I would have of not being able to relate to them, because I realized that even though our lives are like night and day difference, literally, I think it's evening over there. I think so. And we live such privileged lives, and they have nothing. Even though we're so different, we're all kids. We're all God's kids, and we came together over our ability to just laugh and connect. And I think that was the biggest part for me, the realization that everyone's a person, and people are fundamentally just able to have such a great time together when they come together as a group under God. So that's my bit.
I have stage fright. Okay, so I'm Claire, and this was not my first time out of the country, but this was definitely my first missions trip, so it was really anxious for me. I was familiar with the language barrier, but usually I just gave Amanda the look like, hey, save me because you know this language, but I couldn't do that because she doesn't know Romanian. So I gave that look to the translators instead. And going into this, I knew that I would have a difficult time actually, or I thought that I would have a difficult time actually being able to put God in kids' lives, and I didn't know where they were at with their faith and what they believed or what they were allowed to believe in this country. So I had to be kind of cautious of it at first. And my team, Red Group, which one? Anyway, my team they were all very active kids. They were all about the sports and competitiveness. And so whenever it came down to small group, I felt that I had a really hard time actually connecting to them and actually reaching them. So I did my teaching on day 3, and I didn't think that went too well. I was kind of disappointed because I was like, hey, I don't think I reached these kids at all. But then afterwards, I was sitting on the bridge just alone, just watching the little creek go by. And one of the kids in my group named Bella, he came up to me and he kind of just started talking, and he knew English, so I understood him. He started talking, and he's like, is this what you meant by your message? And he translated it perfectly, like what I wanted to get across. And I was just so happy that I was actually able to reach someone. And so that gave me confidence for my next teaching. And my teaching was on the last day, and I pulled each kid aside and talked to them. And again, I felt like I didn't reach any of them because I pulled them aside and I was like, do you have any questions or anything? They're like, no, I just want to go play games. And I'm like, yep, this is my team. And so afterwards, whenever I left, the day that I got to the hotel in Turgamuresh after we left camp, Bella sends me a message on Facebook, and I have it written down. He said, today you do very much for me. He knows broken English. Today you do very much for me. Actually, you opened my heart for having a relationship with God. And I started crying right whenever I got that message. And it was just cool, because I was able to actually give faith to someone. And then so I wrote a journal entry after, and Andy was like, what did you learn during these 2 weeks? So I thought that this would be the perfect entry. I just ripped a page out. And so I'm just going to read that real quick. So I said, a person's story does not define their actions. The orphans don't let their ghost parents belittle their worth. The leaders don't let the language barrier stop them from listening and bringing life. The negatives should be used as positives. The orphans look at the miracles of life and appreciate every little thing they receive, from a phone to a meal to a simple hug. These kids never take anything for granted. The leaders use the language barrier to show the kids how much they care and how dedicated they actually are. They chose to learn and listen instead of turning a blind ear to the unfamiliar. Me, I'm not going to let my doubts stop me from sharing God. I will use them to relate and advise. And yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm one of the leaders with the youth group. Andy and I had a really cool opportunity this past week to lead the games for all the kids. So we got to plan all of the game times and big games and the small games, and we were just able to bring the joy or put it there for them to take, if you will. And it gave me a cool opportunity because I wasn't in a group. So I had the opportunity to watch our students and the translators with the kids and just how they interacted. And I've been on mission trips before. I've been out of the country on mission trips. So I've seen the language barrier, and I've seen it be difficult. But the coolest thing that I learned and that I got to see this past week was just the importance of showing Jesus' love and the importance of being active in showing the love of Christ and the love of God to people. Because here, with all of you, I can talk about Jesus' love till the cows come home. I can tell you that Jesus loves you. I can tell you all of these things that Jesus has done for you. But with the kids in Romania and going on mission trips where you don't know the language, all you can do is show Jesus' love. And all you can do is show God's love. And it was just an incredible experience to get to watch the students show Jesus' love and just love on the kids. And they didn't even get to tell them what Jesus' love was like. I mean, they did through the translators, but it almost didn't matter as much as the way that they interacted with the kids and letting the kids jump on them and braiding their hair and playing with them and just being the face of Jesus. And I just saw the value in that and took away how important it is for us to do that as well. Because we can all talk about Jesus' love. We can talk to each other about Jesus' love. But there's a difference between talking about Jesus' love and having those words be empty and showing Jesus' love and really being able to experience that love. And experiencing that love is amazing, but being able to show that love is also amazing. So that's what I took away from this trip.
That was really good. My name is Riley, and I'm also on the leadership team for the youth group. And I learned a couple of things. First is that I greatly, very deeply, and passionately appreciate clean laundry. I think we all discovered that, and I'm sure when we got home and opened our bags, it was like this plume of grossness. But yeah, that was, another thing I learned is that my biggest mission field is right here. And in a couple of the days, a couple of my students from my group came up to me and wanted to tell me their stories and how they got to the orphanage and just things about their life. And I sat there listening to these very sad stories of these kids, and it's exactly what I expected. But as I was listening and praying and encouraging them, I really realized that working in the youth group and just working with people, I hear those same stories every day right here. And we see those same stories through the. It really broadened my perspective just to realize how important it is that we realize where God has placed us. Because that is where we belong, and these and so worth going to, and so many people need help in so many different places, and sometimes we are called to faraway places, but I know that for me, this trip has really made people who are directly around me, that I think that goes for all of us. So I know there are a lot of people who weren't able to come or maybe have wanted to, but I would just encourage you in that you can start right here. And God will, if you do well with what you have in front of you, He will open the doors and give you even greater things and greater opportunities. So that's really what I learned the most. Yeah.
Hello, my name's Tessa. I'm a 10th grader. I'm going to share a story. So on the last day when we were saying goodbye, it was way before that in the morning, this girl came up to me. I had seen her a few times. She was in another team, and I think her name was Larissa. She didn't say a word to me. No, Larissa number 2. Yeah. There's 2 Larissas. Yeah, one Larissa was on my team, and I really, really loved her a lot. But then the second one, she didn't say a word to me. She just came up, put her arms up, and asked, she just wanted to hug me. And she hugged me, and she didn't let go, and she followed me all around camp that day. And it really showed me. It shocked me a lot because I was just like, what's happening? I was so confused. But it really showed me how much, love is, the true language, and, how much connection you can get from not even saying a word, just showing God's love and shining it to others, and just how much she just connected by not even saying a word. She just loved, and it really shocked me a whole lot because I was just like, what's happening? I don't even understand, but it was really cool.
it can be really frustrating when you go out and you try and bless someone and you feel more blessed yourself. But one of my biggest takeaways from the trip was I've been with these guys for nearly 3 years, and they will help, for most of the part, help lead the middle school group. And some of them were middle schoolers when I arrived too. And when you see people that you've been pouring in for a couple years pour into other people, the cycle starts making sense, you know? And I think this is what Jesus was always trying to tell us, was the more you pour into other people and then you see them pour into other people, that's just multiplication, and that's just what it's meant to be like. And so the thing I learned was we should all be pouring our life into other people, and then the joy when you see those people pouring their life into other people, everything just begins to make way more sense. And the love of Jesus and your own self-awareness increases. So that's kind of the biggest takeaway. I was super proud of them. Boys high schoolers, you need to step up your game. Just taking girls, oh my goodness. These guys work their tails off during the year. Some of them were gardening, yard sales, making pizza. But these guys worked for 12 months, and they deserved it to be on the trip, you know. And I'm just very proud of them that they would come. And Morris and Elizabeth took off time off work, and they had to fight for that, if you're watching. They just made it happen, you know. And I want to say a couple of stories, but mainly I'm proud of Jesus because he always follows through, and I'm proud of these guys because they made it happen. So could we just give them a round of applause for making it happen? And seriously, high school boys, to step up the game next time. It is interesting when you go through the airport and the security guy looks at you and you're just traveling with a bunch of girls and you're like, yep, that's me. Also, one reason I'm proud is when you look at a team and you've slept for 45 minutes and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're in a country that you don't understand and you're in a different city than you used to be in, and you look at them and say, we're not getting home for 2 or 3 days, attitudes change quick. And these guys, for the most part, kept their cool. We smelled bad. We looked bad. We were like in international travel mode. So we were like sweatpants, big shoes, hoodies. And I gotta be honest, as soon as we found out we were staying, we just head straight to H&M. And we're like, we're buying clothes now because we smelled bad. And it's an important part of the trip. But a couple stories. They asked quite late each day if I would preach in the evening, which is a cool honor. And I love preaching with a translator because it gives you a moment to stop and think what you're going to say, and sometimes you can play off their interaction. And I asked them just before I went on stage, I said, hey, can I do like an altar call? Can I ask them like have a come to Jesus moment? And he looked at me very dearly in the eye and said, please don't. And I know he's watching, and it was a really cool moment for me. And I said, why not? And he says, every day we have family time. They were broken up into 4 groups. And I don't know if these guys know this conversation I had with our host. They're broken into 4 groups, and he says, I don't want you to get them to raise their hand or stand up. But what I want you to do is challenge them that during family time tomorrow, that's when they can make the decision. Give them some time to think about it and let them do it inside family, because inside family is where it counts. And I was like, snap, that's a good life lesson just by itself. And so every night I talked about death and struggle and how I met my wife, which is not death and struggle. Death and struggle one night, how I met my wife the other night, and the last night I talked about kind of how I came to Jesus. Sorry, babe, that came out really bad. And I just felt led to share stories. He says, please just tell stories and leave it to Jesus to do the rest. And one of the boys, I'll leave his name to the side, but he was 17. He grabbed me just before he went on the bus, and in his broken English, this is what he said to me. He said, after you shared about how you met with my wife, I've realized that my relationships have always been about me, not about anyone else. And the things that you shared, I realized that some things take time. And it was just a beautiful moment between me and a 17-year-old who I barely knew. And I said, what are you going to do about it? And he said, last night I was in my bed and I decided, and this is the words he used. He said, I decided to open my heart fully to Jesus. And I was like, that's beautiful. And I said, but what are you going to do now? And he goes, I need to go tell my family group, and I need to tell my family at home in the orphanage because that's where it counts. And I was like, man, you guys should be preaching to us, you know? And so I would love to tell you how many kids gave their life to the Lord. We kind of know because they kind of did it in the family groups. But it's really hard to tell when you do it amongst like individuals, you know, because I really like that aspect of do it within the family because that's where it counts, and the accountability is huge inside of a family. At summer camp is a lot of hype. You can get kids to stand up and commit to things. But when you do it with your mum and dad or who is looking after you at home, the realization just shifts a little bit, doesn't it? And this is kind of my encouragement to you guys. I don't want to say that we all need to go to Romania. These guys kind of went on your behalf to go to Romania. You should go because it's a beautiful country. But know that within your family is where you can talk about Jesus, and that's where I think time will tell if it lasts, you know? When you get to talk with your kids about Jesus, when your kids get to tell you about Jesus, when you hear the siblings talking about Jesus, I think that's when it gets real. And inside that family group, there's a huge level of accountability. These kids, a lot of these kids have nothing. They have a couple of toys, you know, they have a mom and dad that kind of like looks after them. It's not their real mom and dad. And when you see people who have so much joy on the outside, but in the, you know, they don't have a lot of material stuff, it also shifts your perspective of how much junk we have, yet we're always disappointed. And the faith that they have in Jesus and just seeing their faces and their smiles change throughout the week, hopefully will stay with you forever. And when you get to walk someone, have that like decision time and leading them to Jesus, it makes your perspective of Jesus again change. So I am doing a little plug. Go to Romania next time we go. Take a bunch of teenagers with you because they have a lot of energy. They also can smell when you've been traveling for 3 days. But you guys look good and sharp and showered now. So well done, parents. Yeah, we would love to go again. Claudia and Leandrew, who are the hosts, they're an incredible couple. These guys, Morris and Elizabeth and others, have just kind of built their relationship for 11 years. And Tom Redding, who's Julia Vox's dad, has been going, I don't know, probably since I was born or something. But he's been going for age, and the legacy that Morris and Elizabeth and the team hold, we honored these guys in front of everyone, and I want to do it again. The legacy that you hold by committing to something year after year after year after shows because these guys got to have the assist on that, you know? And you guys got to have the assist because a lot of you paid for them to get there. So I just want to say thank you to Morris and Elizabeth and the teams who've been there before. Thank you for being committed to go year after year, spending a lot of money on flights, even when they change. And I think it's cool when us as a body of believers commit to going somewhere over and over and over and over again. Because you can go into a country, you can go into a certain place, and you can kind of be like fireworks set off and then you leave, and actually you can cause more destruction than good, you know? But when you see the same faces over and over again, you really get to build the relationships. We had 9 translators on our team, and most of them were kids when Morris and Elizabeth met from the orphanages. So that's just kind of the legacy that they got to carry. These guys are still talking to our translators. Some of them are really good translators. Some of them were funny translators. And seeing the joy on these guys' faces and our translators when they talk about Jesus is just unreal. It's just a beautiful thing. So my takeaway, apart from boys, step it up, is continue to invest in the young people at this church, because these are the next worship leaders, pastors, preachers that we have at the church. And the more we invest in them, the more we'll see the kingdom of Jesus come through. Amen. So I'll stop preaching. Mark, if you want to come up. Thank you, guys.